Hi there, come on in. Getting my gun cleaned up here for the shooting show at the outdoor fair. This is the gun I shoot. It's a Mossberg Ultimag. Shoots these big 3.5-inch shells, but it also shoots regular trap loads. I shot a 25 straight, my first time with this gun, a couple weeks ago, trap shooting. Besides the shooting show, we're gonna have, you're not gonna believe this, Harry Reinfelder is gonna shoot me in the chest with a .45 caliber pistol. Well, I'm going to be wearing a bulletproof vest. Going to be a dramatic demonstration. We have a lot more coming up at the fair. You'll hear about it, so stay tuned. I'm Fred Trost. It's Thursday night. Time for Michigan Outdoors. Three hours of fishing, 3 nice walleye. Not bad considering her front was moving through and the fish had shut off. Harry Reinfelder owns a fishing resort on the South Shore and he knows how to fish this bay. Talked to a fellow a couple weeks ago who said they came up here for the first time, but the conditions were terrible. The water was all muddy and they didn't do that well.
Well, probably they didn't do well, not because of muddy water. They did poorly because of the weather. The weather's a big factor. Water's always muddy. As long as the water's muddy, you'll catch walleyes. It's a shallow bay, and the light doesn't bother the walleye. And we catch walleyes here in the middle of the afternoon. We don't have to wait till nighttime or at dark.
But there's sometimes an incredible number of boats out here. Hundreds of boats trolling back and forth in, what, 5 feet of water?
5 feet, 4 feet, 3 feet. I heard some guys with lead head jigs up in 2 foot of water the other day doing real good. Tip with a crawler or even a rubber tail on the thing. Just snake them through the weeds.
Okay, that's the first couple weeks of the season. But what about June, July?
Well, as it warms up, you'll find them a little bit deeper. When I say a little bit deeper, from 2 foot to 7 foot, 8 foot. At times out in towards the shipping channel, get 12, 15, 20 foot of water. But most of the time, the bay the surface temperature warms up quite a bit. But we've got the St. Mary's, coming down through here and eddying back into the bay. And the warmest that thing gets is usually about 60. That's tops. So the bay never really gets hot, for the fish. They're in here all year. Last year was an exception. We had high water. The wind didn't work up the bay, and we had clearer water. When you have clear water in Munuscong Bay, the fish move to deeper water. But as long as it stays muddy, we got fish.
So you want the muddy water. You want a little bit of wind and roiled up.
You bet. As long as she stays muddy, we've got fish in this bay. And this year it looks real good. The water's down about 18 inches, and it's kind of murky, and we're catching fish. And that's the way we like it.
What techniques you catch fish on, though? Do you don't have to long line them, do you?
No. Well, I like people that long line them. I sell them new lures because they get snagged up. But no, the main thing is a crawler harness with the crawler on it, maybe about 35 feet out behind the boat with a split shot, baby size, or depending on how fast your boat's going. But lead head jigs, tiny tads. Tiny tads are a great thing up here. The lure is designed to go about 4 to 6 foot deep, and that's ideal for Munuscong. Some guys do all right on some of the other lures, but they find they go a little too deep, and you're always hitting the bottom with them. The other thing is wrapless. If all else fails, a piece of worm on a hook and split shot will work good.
Now, what is on the bottom? When you say you get snagged here, there's not that many snags, are there? It isn't like a flooded reservoir.
No, you've got a lot of cabbage weeds, we call them, all over the bay. And we have some gravel bars. We have clay bottom. It's quite a mixture. A lot of crayfish, and I'm sure that's what draws the fish in here, and a lot of minnows. But a lot of weeds, that's the big factor. Weeds, you get hung up on the weeds all the time. But you have to, because that's where the fish are.
You have shallow water, murky water with weeds, minnows, crayfish, and that brings in the walleye, and what else?
People. It brings a lot of people in. No, brings muskie in. Muskie, you bet. There's a lot of muskie out there, and there's a lot of potential for muskie fishermen, but rarely do we have a muskie fisherman. But we catch a lot of muskie, and primarily because they're fishing a little too shallow for walleyes. But I say every year, you know, the muskie fishermen, if they get up here and fish, some of them say that the water's too big of water, not enough structure. But those fish, those muskie are at certain times of year herded right up in a certain spot. And we know where that spot is, and that's where we go to get our muskie when we get a chance.
It is a fish?
It is a fish.
It's a fish.
We have a muskie.
Grab my recorder.
We have a muskie. Get the net.
You got a muskie?
I think we do. Oh yeah.
It does.
We have a muskie.
Nice fish, Fred. It's right there.
Holy. You caught the biggest muskie of your life with the camera on board.
Right. Just great. I couldn't have done better if I had planned it, Fred.
Yeah.
No, it was terrific. I had a chance to get out for a few hours. I purposely went over in the area where I know the muskie are, and put on a lure a little bit larger than I would normally use for walleye, just anticipating or hoping that I would hook into one. And the camera was rolling. We caught a muskie. Terrific.
Oh, look at that. Get the net. Talk about excitement. That fish caught us all by surprise. Pop Garner handed Harry the net without extending the handle. We were in a quiet panic, because this is a critical point where most big fish are lost.
Holy cow! Oh my God! What a fish! All right! Holy cow! Hold that up! Whoa! Whoa!
It looked easy. That muskie almost jumped into the net. Later that day, we caught a nice stringer of walleye and pike. Good eating fish from Munuscong Bay and impressive in their own right. The kind of fish the bay produces all the time. But there's no doubt, on this day, Harry Reinfelder's 34-pound muskie stole the show. This weekend at the Michigan Outdoors Museum, I'll be there all day Saturday. Be glad to meet with people, have my picture taken with you, answer questions. In between, I'll probably be cleaning guns and reloading shotgun shells for the outdoor fair. Also on Saturday, taxidermist Tim Hayes will be working on ducks. Watch how he turns a limp skin into a lifelike mount. On Sunday, our own Charlie Keenan will be at the museum, available to answer questions, talk to folks about our SOS Bureau, the DNR, see if he can't help you with problems you've had getting your money's worth on outdoor products and services. I think you'll find our fish and game exhibits and the Michigan Outdoors TV studio most impressive. Everybody loves a puppy, and to sportsmen, there are no cuter puppies than little hounds, retrievers, pointers, setters, beagles. They'll be at Puppy Alley at the Outdoor Fair next weekend. If you have puppies for sale, bring them up. Everybody loves to see them. Charlie Keenan will be moderating the sporting dog show in the athletic field. Arnold Welch will handle the hounds. You'll see walkers, red bones, blue ticks. 4 times on Saturday and twice on Sunday, Arnold's hounds will be presented. Charlie Lindblade is our trainer who demonstrates the abilities of pointing dogs on some quail that are hidden in a box of pine boughs. Last year he had a Gordon setter. Now this one wasn't rock solid, but it was backed up by an English setter, which, by the way, is the most popular grouse dog in Michigan. These two were backed up by another Gordon, and this one was rock solid on point. Isn't that something? These pointing dogs, that's really the beauty of hunting to bird hunters. Yellow labs, black labs, Larry and Cindy Malski have both, and once again they'll put on a demonstration of how retrievers are trained and handled for waterfowl hunting. It's all done on dry land in the athletic field at Houghton Lake High School, but the principles of sporting dog training are easily seen and demonstrated. Between the sporting dog shows is traditional archery. Norm Blaker and Davy Blaker demonstrate aerial skills. Last year, I hit a wiffle ball.
Hey! Yes? You're all right.
Ron LeClaire approves. He taught me those skills. If you're an archer, bring your bow. The Livingston Archers have a variety of shoots to test your skill.
Oh, right dead center, yeah.
Besides the novelty shoots, the Livingston Archers have 3D shoots, 2D shoots, an IBO round for bow hunters who really want to try a challenging course. And of course, the long bear shoot will be back. Big prizes for shooters who pop the bullseye on the target on the bear at about 150 yards. If you look carefully, watch for this arrow. It hits just below the pie plate, an inch or two below about 7 o'clock. Lots of archery at the outdoor fair. In the high school, of course, we have exhibitors of outdoor products and services. They'll all be in the gym this year. And in the seminar rooms, we have 2 one-hour seminars running continuously and concurrently. Larry Lonick, author of The Curious Morel, will teach you about hunting and cooking morel mushrooms. Craig Scoff will teach the principles of fishing with sensitive floats, tiny hooks, and larvae for bait. Larry Malski has an extremely informative seminar on how to find and collect shed antlers that bucks drop in the winter. Captain Emil Dean will give the best information he has about how to locate and catch salmon and trout in the Great Lakes during a time when the Great Lakes fishery is at a low point. Ron Reed of the Chalafu Resort will share secrets of how, when, and where to catch fish in Houghton Lake for all species of fish. Outfitter and guide Bobby Knope will present a fascinating video and answer questions about hunting in Russia, especially interesting after the downfall of communism. And Kathy Beitler will put on a demonstration of preparing and cooking wild game. Now, these seminars will be presented twice each on Saturday and once each on Sunday in the seminar rooms. In the auditorium, we'll run videos of walleye fishing and deer hunting between the formal presentations, which are the duck calling contest at 3 o'clock Saturday. Callers from all over the state and the Midwest will be competing for a shotgun and a chance to compete in the national competition at Stuttgart, Arkansas. At 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Saturday and 2 p.m. Sunday, Kathleen Marquardt, the president of Putting People First in Washington, D.C., will be giving an address in the auditorium about her efforts and the efforts of the Michigan chapters to combat what they feel are unreasonable, illogical, and fanatic efforts to enforce the so-called animal rights movement on everybody.
Animal Welfare Act. So the animal rights people are suing on behalf of these rats, mice, and birds. If they're allowed to sue, if they're allowed to take the U.S. Department of Agriculture into court for this, then it will set a precedence that animals have the rights to go into court and sue people, so the farmer's cows can go in and sue him for not serving them on the table instead of however they feed them, and so the mink ranchers can get sued for using them for coats, and you can get sued for owning a dog and not serving him on a table instead of on the floor. You know, I mean, it sounds absurd.
Yeah, it does sound absurd.
But look where they've carried everything else to the extreme. It's not absurd. It's a very real thing.
That animal rights court case went all the way to the Supreme Court last week, but the legal efforts of Kathleen Marquardt and Putting People First fortunately led to its defeat by the U.S. Supreme Court. If you'd like to join Putting People First or start a chapter in your area, come to the fair and talk to the leaders of this important national movement. At noon on both days, I'll give a talk in the auditorium on the subject of Michigan outdoors, a look into the future. Naturally, I'll talk about the TV show, the new directions of the Outdoors Club focusing on shooting sports and getting new people into hunting and fishing. I'll answer questions about the lawsuit, its status and effects, and I'll talk about our DNR that has grown out of touch with Joe Lunchbucket sportsmen. For example, Charlie Keenan just gave me a report that at an upcoming Natural Resources Commission meeting, the Fisheries Division is proposing to totally revamp Michigan's fishing regulations. Their new goal is to inhibit the take of fish, all species, and move towards catch and release in response to what they say is public support to inhibit fishing for food. They're proposing to move the bass season opener to the last Saturday in June. No more Memorial Day bass opener. They're proposing to increase the size limits on all species, cut back the creel limits, and overall cut back the harvest of fish by 10%. If the Fisheries Division does this, how soon will the Wildlife Division cut back pheasant season to 1 week, shorten rabbit season and deer season in response to public objections to hunting? Michigan now has a DNR that's working against the average hunter and fisherman, and a legislature and natural resources commission that supports it. And I'll talk about this freely and openly both days at noon. Now, the rest of the time, I'll be working behind the high school with the shooting shows. We'll present 2 shows, one called Dangerous Weapons, where we demonstrate weapons as they really are, and one called The Fun of Shooting, which has some shooting demonstrations like you've never seen, brand new events based on some of the shooting you've seen at the fair in years past.
Bird! There we go, Fred Trost, I want to hang it.
Do it again, Fred.
Bird! Bird!
All right, Fred. Modify.
Bird!
Yeah.
Very good, very good.
The fun of shooting at the outdoor fair will also be the fun of watching. All these activities are designed for the spectators, including one event here. Take a look at this bullet. This is a .45 caliber bullet. Harry Reinfelder is going to shoot me in the chest with a .45. Now, I'm going to be wearing a bulletproof vest. We're going to demonstrate a number of things about the differences between what you see on television in the shoot-'em-up shows and what really happens when a person gets shot. It's going to be interesting. You'll learn about recoil. You'll learn about a number of things here in this extremely dramatic demonstration. Now, if everything goes well, I'll be back for future shows. Now, if things don't go according to plan, Harry Reinfelder will be in big trouble. My wife will be rich. And this next recipe will probably be one of my last dinners.
We have a scrumptious walleye dip from Ray Filas. And this is actually kind of like a crab dip that is so popular right now. Now, you're supposed to use walleye cheeks, but we couldn't find walleye cheeks, so we just chunked up some walleye.
Walleye cheeks are great, but most people, throw the head away and they don't cut them off.
And you wouldn't notice the difference in this recipe anyway. And you're going to boil them, and you could use leftover fish if you had it. And then you're going to make a dip out of cream cheese and some sour cream, a little bit of lemon juice, and some Worcestershire sauce. And I was really surprised at how much went into this. There's 3 tablespoons in here, and it sounds like a lot, but it actually mixes up very well. And a lot of garlic.
Real garlic.
Yes, yep. You just want to
not
mince
garlic
that.
Powder.
No, just going to mince that up. And then you want to stir this, and you have to work it in pretty good, but once it gets going, it stirs pretty easy.
Oh, and there's that walleye.
Yep.
Ooh. You just boil that for, what, 5 minutes?
About 7. And then you're going to go ahead and flake it up, and then just put it into the dip. I'm going to add a little bit of onions, and that's about all that goes into this.
Onions. Well, this ought to be terrific. Of course, I wonder if we'll really be able to taste the walleye. Walleye is so mild.
It is, yep.
Well, let's let Charlie Keenan roll up his sleeves, dig in, and give us his critique.
Well, I tell you what, I don't know why Kathy set these plates down in front of us, because you really don't need one.
Well, that's to catch it as it's going towards your mouth, see?
This is fantastic. You can't really taste the walleye in there, but it's got such a unique flavor all its own.
Kind of like the crab dip and everything else that's so popular right now.
That's exactly what it tastes like, crab
The
or
seafood,
shrimp. Yeah, but not fishy.
It doesn't have that seafoody taste.
I can see it's in there. I mean, you can see the flakes and all.
Right.
I bet you, bluegill or any of those.
Oh, yeah, perch, any of them.
Oh, yes. People would never know. If they came to your house and they ordered this, never know it was walleye, but they'd want to take a fillet home if they could.
That's right. They'd want to go fishing the next day.
Oh, man. This is such a unique flavor. It's not like the other crab dips and things.
Definitely be a party favorite.
Absolutely. Well, let's see who can eat their side of it the quickest. If you love dips like I love dips, you're going to want that recipe. Address coming up. It's in the Outdoor Digest. It'll be coming up right at the end of the show. By the way, if you have a favorite recipe you would like to see on Michigan Outdoors, our recipe contest deadline for this coming year is July 15th. You need an official entry form. Write to us. Kathy Beitler can send you that form, and you can be in the running for our 1993 Fish and Wild Game Cook-Off. If you can get outdoors, make sure you do. It's a great place to be. See you next week.
and by the financial support of viewers like you.